Hey everyone, welcome to another Facebook Live with Flow Living. I'm Elisa Vitti, founder of the Flow Living Hormone Center. I am the author of Woman Code and the creator of the MyFlow app and the Cycle Syncing Method. And I come to you every week to talk about how to live smarter and healthier in your beautiful, magical female body. So I'm excited to be back. Last week I was offline. So thank you guys for letting me take some much needed R&R. And I'm back this week to talk to you about how, in fact, I just want to make sure I shut my ringer off, how to actually keep your hormones optimized every decade. Because, you know, we don't just take care of women at the Flow Living Center who have, just period problems. We also deal with women who are transitioning from pregnancy to postpartum, from, menstruation to perimenopause and beyond. And we are also take care of moms who are concerned about their teenage daughters who are just beginning the whole menstrual process. So I wanted to talk to everybody today and make sure that everybody knows kind of how to navigate, how to think about how to do this. And of course, I dressed for the occasion. Since we're talking about navigation, I put on my most nautical outfit for you to be your captain. And of course, we're going to navigate by the moon. Why not? So anyway, I got a kick out of I think I have an outfit for this topic today. So let me know where you're tuning in from. Hey, Lauren from Halifax. Hey, Anya. Where you're tuning in from, and of course, what decade you're in. We're going to be covering, we're going to be going through, let me just look at my notes. We're going to be talking about, hi, Victoria. We're going to be talking about puberty. We're going to be talking about the adult menstrual years. We're going to be talking about pregnancy, postpartum, and the 2 phases of perimenopause and postmenopause. We're going to do them all. So if you have questions about the phase that you're in, if you have questions about the phase that your daughter's in or your mom is in, or you're just curious about the next phase that you might be going through, these are all questions that I want to hear about. What is troubling you? Hey, Anya from Massachusetts. I'm from Massachusetts, thus the nautical attire. Part of the deal, I think. If you spend any time in Cape Cod, you end up with at least one outfit that looks like you could be on a sailboat. Not that I've ever been on a sailboat. Hey, Katie, 27 in Alabama. Rihanna in England. Anila from Virginia. Marsha from NYC. Shelby from Charlotte in her 20s. Victoria's in New York, 31. It's so funny. I don't really pick up on the New York accent, but my daughter has a tiny bit of the coffee. And I'm like, woo, where'd you get that from? But just the ether. Crazy. Okay, let's see. Marsha is almost 40 in July. That is beautiful. Fabulous. Welcome, welcome. So anybody who's just turning in, let me know isn't this fun? When do we all get so excited about telling each other how old we are? I love it. You guys are so yeah, I want to tell you my age. That's great. Hey, Nicole, let me know if you're, hey, Emma, 45 in London, 31 in New Hampshire, 35 in Portugal. This is so great. I love it. We have women of all ages because this is really what we do at Flow Living. We're the first and only global, meaning we take care of women around the world, end-to-end hormonal solution for women. So I just love seeing that reflected in every one of our clients, everybody who's tuning in, who's reading, who's watching. It's really for women of every age. If you have hormones, you need support, and we're not getting it in our conventional medical system, which I know I experienced growing up. And I just thought I should do something about it. So I did. I built the thing that I needed when I was in my 20s going through PCOS. And I'm just really proud that it exists in the world today for women. So anyway, just a little aside. I'm always happy to see all of you. Hey, Giselle from Trinidad, Kerry, 44, and Fabulous in California. So, okay. The reason why I wanted to talk about, how to, hey, Bella from St. Martin. Anya doesn't want to talk about her age. That's okay. You don't have to share if you don't feel comfortable, but certainly you shouldn't feel in any way concerned about your age. Age is it's more important to understand your biological age versus your chronological age, but we'll kind of get to that in a minute. All right. So whatever age you're in, whether you're in your teens, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, the issue isn't whether or not you're having a period or, the issue is, are you having period problems? If you're just like, I want you to be checking the color of your bleed, the symptoms, that's why I built the MyFlow app so that you could really be checking all your symptoms and really monitoring and using the wonderful biofeedback tool that is your period. I also want you to be thinking about this, how you're doing in each of these life stages. You girls, stop making me laugh so much. Mary, 37, 9 months postpartum with child number 3, feeling biologically 100 today. You know what, sister? That's okay. That's okay. That's probably spot on. You probably real tired. You should take a nap. But I'm honored that you want to spend your time with me. I promise to deliver. After this, though, take a nap. Okay. So, just like we've been told, period problems are something you should expect. Period problems, or hormonal difficulty during these big life stage hormonal transitions are also things that you would want to take action on. Like, we've all been conditioned. Your period's supposed to cause pain. It's supposed to be crampy. You're supposed to have PMS. So you're lulled into not taking any action based on that misinformation. And similarly, part of that same trajectory of conditioning, you think that all the transitions are supposed to be miserable. You're supposed to suffer postpartum. You're supposed to suffer during perimenopause. You're supposed to suffer when you're old and you don't have a period anymore. And it's supposed to be terrible. And so you do nothing because you believe this lie, this mythology, this BS that is not scientifically based, that says you've got the genetic short end of the stick. Couldn't be further from the truth. And what I want you to do is today really get in the mindset for whatever phase you're in now, and then for all the phases, that you are supposed to take action if something is up, because you can completely change your hormonal destiny. You can completely turn around the experience of your biological age in any stage of life. You can feel more youthful at 40 than you did at 25, depending on what you were doing at 25 versus what you're doing at 40. I mean, we see examples of this everywhere. So I want today to really help you understand the 7 different hormonal life stages that you will experience as a woman, and things to look out for and ways to navigate that better. Thus my nautical outfit today to help you navigate things better. Okay, so let's start with the first one, which is puberty. And many of you are out of this phase, but some of you are still in your early 20s, late teens, or you're a mom. I was emailing with a mom yesterday who was trying to get her supplement order. She was worried about it coming, and I said it's supposed to be there today. And I said, what's so time sensitive about it? She's like, oh, I send them. She orders them to her house, and then she ships them to her daughter's dorm room to make sure that they absolutely get to her. Her daughter has PCOS. She's off at college, and she's such a great mom to do that. And so I wanted to address the puberty piece, because you may be a mom in your 40s or 50s dealing with a teenage daughter who's either in the early parts of puberty, and we get a lot of questions about this, or anywhere up to the age of 21, which is when puberty finishes. By the way, puberty lasts from 9 to 21, takes a long time. Just like perimenopause is about 10 to 15 year process. Puberty is a 10 plus year process too. It doesn't just happen, like between 12 and 14. It's a longer process, one that needs a lot of support. So let's just start with like what's normal, because I heard the most upsetting story from a colleague of mine in Massachusetts who is a massage therapist. Okay, Hannah, then maybe this will get your attention. It certainly got mine. Hannah has 3 daughters in puberty over there, wherever she is. And I was so shocked when I heard this. So she was telling me that a client of hers came in for a massage at her massage center. And she was telling her that 2 of the other mom friends in her little mom group were telling her, I know this is one of those stories where the hers get confused. But anyway, 2 of the moms were telling this mom who came in to tell her massage therapist, who I know, that their pediatrician had suggested that they put their daughters who were like 11 and 12 on Prozac in advance of getting their period to even out their mood swings that are part of pubescence. And then that as soon as they got their first period at 12 or 13, that they should then also put their daughters on birth control. So we're talking about medicating the process of puberty before it even started. And that was my face. I literally was like, oh my God. And of course, my first question, I know, right? This is happening everywhere. I try to pretend like it's not, but it is. My first question was, do these moms also take antidepressants and birth control? And of course, the answer is yes. And why that's important is not to blame the moms, because you know what? Everybody is just trying to do their best. But if you're someone who has bought into the rhetoric that your hormonal processes, any of these transitions which we're going to cover today, need to be medicated, then of course you're more likely to then also think that that's a good idea for your children, right? Your daughters. And I certainly hope that that conversation, gets evaluated a little bit, because puberty is a time of hormonal fluctuation, and just like perimenopause. And so what I want to just set some some expectations of what's normal, what's okay, right? What's okay is, it's supposed to be irregular. It's supposed to be wonky. When you first start getting your period, it's going to be a little bit like, a little turbulence, right? All the systems are starting to fire inside the endocrine system. Ovulation might not happen every month. A period might not happen every month. It takes a minute for the body to go from having the one circadian 24-hour clock to 2 clocks, right? The 24-hour clock and the 28-day clock. It takes a minute for that to find a groove. And in fact, there's something called the hypothalamic pituitary ovarian axis that has to get well established. And that's a brain ovary conversation that takes the entirety of puberty until the brain finishes its development at 21, right? To get established. So it's really important, if you're a teen, or if you're the mother of a teen, to try as much as possible to preserve this time and to support this time naturally, because the body is so young, the hormones are the body is so responsive when you're younger. If there's any hormonal imbalance like acne or heavy bleeding or painful cramping, right? This is the time, if you're so lucky to have a mom who's clued into this, natural methods of treating period problems, or if you're a young woman in puberty who's watching this, you have such a unusual opportunity, right, to navigate puberty medication free. Because what we do know is that the mood swings that are totally normal part of the pubescent brain's evolution. And if anybody wants to learn more about the pubescent brain for yourself or for your daughter, please pick up the New York Times bestseller from Luann Brizendine, MD, called The Female Brain. It's a little tiny book. It is not too sciencey that it's going to feel like neuroscience. It just explains why we should respect this process and not medicate it. In a really easy to access way for anybody either in puberty or dealing with a pubescent child. It's on my bookshelf. So I think that it's what we should do is really expect turbulence, expect irregularity, and not to mention these poor girls now coming into pubescence in this environment. We should expect even more difficulty for them to establish that hypothalamic pituitary ovarian conversation because they're in an environment that is more chemical laden than any environment in human history. More estrogen, xenoestrogenic chemicals that are disrupting their hormones, more early onset pubescence in boys and girls in the teen years, more early onset period problems. Like it's really, fibroids and endometriosis would be things that developed in a woman's 20s or 30s a couple of decades ago. Now we're seeing that happen in girls that are in their pubescent years. Why is that happening? Couple reasons. The main one being this exposure to chemicals in the environment and in their food. So what you do as a mom and what you're eating as a teen will dictate the quality of your pubescence and your period experience, your pain experience. All of that is something that you can modify without having to medicate. You just have to change what's going in the mouth, right? What are you putting on your plate, in your fork, in your mouth? What chemical products are you using in the home? Switch to organic foods. Get off the dairy. Everybody's asked me what I feed my 4-year-old daughter because, I'm really looking out for her hormonal well-being now and have been in utero even because I know that she would have genetic predisposition to potentially have hormonal issues. So I've been asking the question from the jump, what can I do such that those genes don't get switched on? What can I do on her behalf? And she doesn't have cow dairy. She does occasionally, she was at a birthday party this weekend and there was pizza and she can eat it, it's fine. But when she's at home, which is 90% of the time, it's goat yogurt for breakfast, goat kefir in smoothies, goat milk when we make pancakes. It's A2-based dairy products so that I don't have to worry that all these years leading up to puberty, she's developing leaky gut or gut microbiome disruption, which will set her up for hormonal triggers in puberty, right? So I'm thinking ahead. But if that hasn't happened, you can still do triage from 9 to 21. Take out the cow dairy, take out the gluten, follow the flow protocol. You can really turn the ship around. And because you have the youthful biochemistry on your side from 9 to 21, that transformation from imbalance to hormonal balance can happen very quickly. So as a mom of a teen, you've got to give your daughter that perspective because she might feel about, her acne and her cramps that it's the end of the world because she has the pubescent brain and it's highly dramatic and sensitive and emotionally reactive. So you have to help her navigate that. And then just change the diet because you can still control to some large extent what she's eating and help her see that it's helping. Yes, A2 cow's milk is fine, but my challenge with it is that I haven't found one that's organic, grass-fed. It's just the A2. So if I could find one that's organic and grass-fed, then cool. Until then, we do organic goat, and sheep and buffalo, and all the A2 milks are cool. Camel milk, I haven't really tried that, but that's the next big thing. Camel's milk, it's all the rage in the wellness community these days. So anyway, so that's my spiel on puberty is go out of your way while your daughter is still, for the vast majority of puberty, in your home under your direct care to help support this turbulent hormonal time, which should be turbulent. It is totally normal. Things to look out for are, of course, take seriously severe pain complaints, cystic acne, massive weight gain, major depression or anxiety. All of those things are signs of blood sugar imbalances, adrenal overload, which of course these poor teens today are stressed to the max, and gut microbiome imbalances from diet. So if you see that she's having all these symptoms and she's suffering and she thinks that the solution, because all her friends at school are doing the birth control pills and stuff to fix their period problems, talk to her about other ideas, give her the book Woman Code to read, perhaps have her download the MyFlow apps if she doesn't want to listen to you, but she might read something and be like, oh, I didn't know if I had a pimple I could eat cilantro and it might clear up. She might take an interest in this herself if you kind of, encourage her a little bit and it doesn't feel like it's you telling her what to do, because that's also a tricky part of puberty. Super fun. Not to mention that you yourself might be going through perimenopause at the same time, which I'll talk about when we get to perimenopause. So lots of turbulence could be happening in the household simultaneously, and everybody needs to be on the same page with, let's acknowledge that this is a thing that happens and it is normal. And then, of course, what anybody does, whether they're in puberty or perimenopause or postpartum or whatever, is we address it with food and supplements and lifestyle changes. Of course, like that should be the new normal, not, oh, your period's painful, you need the pill. That's what the normal cultural conversation is, and it's not good. It's not healthy. It does not promote a healthy relationship with your own body's needs. When you have a symptom like acne or cramps or heavy bleeding, your body is crying out to you with that symptom to say, please help me, feed me something else, give me some nutrients that I can use to do what I want to do so that this can be easy, like nature designed. Your period is not there to curse you or to make your life miserable, not at puberty and not any time in your life. So I think that, as a mom, you get to be the sort of ground zero of what you want your daughter to be thinking about her puberty journey and her hormonal journey and what she thinks about her period altogether. And so gift her that, and if she has a lot of questions about, well, why are all my friends on the pill? Talk to her about just factually why they are, what your thoughts on that are. Of course, there's the whole conversation about sex and pregnancy prevention, and you can have that conversation too, which I don't have time to get into today, but we can do another time if you would like me to. Okay, so let's talk about the adult menstruating years, which, I'll just put broadly into 21 to 35. Now, of course, you could have pregnancies within this age bracket, but until you hit 35, which is the beginning of perimenopause, 21 to 35 is your, decade plus of your adult menstruating years that are distinct from puberty. And so what's unique about this phase of life, of course, the same thing that I said about puberty applies to every phase, which is you don't need to medicate at any time, your period problems. What you do need to do is address them with food and supplements. But what's unique about the adult menstruating years are the life stressors that you didn't necessarily have in your in your pubescent years. So, in most young women's lives, after they graduate college, they're traveling, they're moving away from home, they're getting jobs that work them long hours, that don't pay them enough. They're, trying to figure out how to be a young adult on their own, independent, navigating money and a social life and relationships, sex, drugs, alcohol, partying. Young women are dealing with a lot of things. I think internet dating is just a whole other I'm trying to think of how I'm going to help my daughter navigate that when she's of age. So, there's a lot that young women, 21 to 35, are dealing with who aren't yet married or having children. And then, of course, we're going to talk about pregnancy separate, which again can happen at any time, depending on when you choose to do that. But all these external stressors really affect, in puberty, the star of the show is the HPO axis. And in the adult menstruating years, the star of the show is the HPA axis, the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. So all that stress, rushing to get to work on time or stressing out to finish a deadline for your job, starting a business with your friends, traveling around the world, not having enough money, whatever the stresses are, falling in love, having a heartbreak, all of that really fries the adrenals, and all that cortisol can throw off the cycle indirectly and start to make ovulation and menstruation irregular. And I've, written about this extensively on the Flow blog, so if you want to learn more there, you can. But the point is that that's to be expected, right? Because you can't change the stage of the life you're in, right? Life stages are what they are. They come with their pros and cons. And one of the cons of our young adult years is just, things are real busy. You're ramping up into adulthood. You're figuring a lot of things out. There's a lot of stress. Can't really do much about that. So when your period shows you signs of wear and tear from your life stage during this stage of life, what should you do? Reach for the birth control and Prozac, anti-anxiety medication, insomnia medication? I mean, you know what I'm going to say, right? The answer is no, that's not what you should be doing. You want to be looking at it and say, okay, and again, here the MyFlow app can be really helpful, because you can say, all right, I know last month I had more alcohol, more restaurant nights out with coworkers, whatever was going on. I understand why this month my PMS is so intense. Let me, get rededicated to taking my B vitamins, my omega-3s. Let me change my workouts a little bit so I'm not burning myself out even worse with, working out on top of my stress. Let me try to replenish for a couple of months. You build a practice and a habit, or you build this muscle in a way of relating to your body in a responsive way. It isn't about being perfect and never indulging and not living your life. It's just saying, okay, it makes sense to me. These things happened. Now let me just take a little extra care of myself to rebalance, right? And again, you have youth on your side, so the rebalancing will happen within a cycle or two. The trick is to understand, to even have this expectation, because you're fighting years, centuries of conditioning that says it's supposed to be painful and miserable and there's nothing you can do. So if you're not careful during the adult menstruating years, you can get easily kind of like sucked into that thinking and just say, I don't have time, I'm busy, I just want this to go away, let me take some medication. And the reason why I'm so against people using synthetic birth control to deal with their period problems, not against people using birth control for birth control purposes, but I find it problematic from at least what the science says, is because it actually makes your hormonal imbalances worse. It increases your depression, it increases your anxiety, it decreases your sex drive, it increases your infertility, and it decreases all the micronutrients your body needs to even have a chance at balancing your hormones in the first place. So why it is the opposite of logical to take this medication when you have symptoms. Instead, what you need to do is take action. Action, 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 always. So that's my spiel with that. And, just keep yourself aware of your toxin exposure. Like, for example, me and my best friend in my 20s living in the city, she loved to go for like brunch and a manicure. We were single, we were young in the city. That was like her thing, and I loved her. So I was like, yeah, I'll meet you for brunch and a manicure. But I would always request that we went to a place that used, at that time, 7 free nail polish and that was well ventilated, right? Because I didn't want to sit in a salon where we were breathing in all the fumes. And since she loved me and my work, she was like, yeah, that's cool. So you can in your 20s and early 30s, especially now with the pervasiveness of wellness as a mainstream experience, you have so many more options to do things that are indulgent and fun and young and, frivolous, but you can do them in a way that aren't as toxic. So you have a much easier time of managing the endocrine disruption more so than any generation. So I would say those who are in their adult menstrual years, 21 to 35, you have it the best that any generation of women have ever had it. All you have to do is decide to just take leadership with your body and, use the flow protocol, use the cycle syncing membership, use the app, use the flow supplements, use the tools that we have to help you get back on track so you don't have to feel like you're between a rock and a hard place and you have to take medication. That you should never get to that point. Okay, let's move on to pregnancy. Hello. I cannot see how to pronounce your name because it's in Cyrillic, but hello from the Ukraine. Okay. So we're going to talk about pregnancy and postpartum, just because these are, if you choose to have a child, some, pretty tectonic hormonal shifts. And, obviously for pregnancy, no doctor is going to prescribe synthetic birth control, so we don't have that to worry about. But I think one of the gifts of, taking care of yourself in your adult menstruating years, right, 21 to 35, whenever you do choose to get pregnant, if you've taken care of yourself hormonally and taken care of your period issues, your hormone issues at a young age, you will not only have an easier time conceiving, but your pregnancy overall will be one that is healthier for you and the baby and more enjoyable for you, right? As opposed to having more, challenges and problems. So I definitely always like to advocate that, if you haven't taken care of your period problems and you're thinking of getting pregnant, give yourself at least 3 to 6 months with the flow protocol, so that you can prepare your body for conception, optimal fertility, but also to really just give yourself a foundation of healthy hormone balance to really thrive during your pregnancy, because it's a pretty epic thing that you're about to do, which is, oh, by the way, 3D printing a tiny human being in your uterus, which is a hugely micronutrient heavy process, will take every little bit you've got. So you want to make sure that your nutrient bank account is overflowing, right? You want to feel like, I always say to women who work with me on their conception journey, you want to get to the place where you feel like a juicy, ripe peach that is like ready to be picked from the tree, overflowing with juicy sweetness, right? Not like stressed out, exhausted, depleted, pale. That's not an optimal, even just from a sensation point of view, that's not what your body wants to feel like before it conceives, right? So you do want to try to prepare yourself. And the more you prepare before, the healthier pregnancy you have, the easier the postpartum shift can be, because as Mary Elizabeth on her third postpartum journey at the moment, it is a tectonic shift hormonally and in your brain. Actually, there's oh my goodness, I don't know if she's a PhD or an MD, but she has a TED Talk, which I highly recommend any new mom at whichever pregnancy it is to go Google matrescence TED Talk. So like pubescence, just put matra and then sense afterwards, right? And she basically has identified that just like the massive brain chemistry shifts that take place in puberty that we have documented to the hilt, we have not documented, studied, or evaluated the tectonic brain chemistry shifts that happen postpartum that totally and completely rewire your brain as a mom. She has this PhD or MD researcher, and she has called it, like she thought to parallel pubescence, She has termed it matrescence. And I think that she is a genius and should be given some sort of an award, because we need to define our biological experiences and describe them so that we take them seriously and believe that they're really happening, because I'm sure, like any new mom has talked to you about, or you yourself might have experienced, you think you're going crazy, and you think you're crazy for thinking that you're going crazy because you think you're supposed to be the same. This is the toxicity that lack of information perpetrates on women that I am, pretty focused on dispelling, as you know. And so the matrescence journey is one where your whole brain becomes rewired to focus on, caretaking of your child, and you're more apt to have an anxiety response. And so if you're feeling postpartum, like you have a little postpartum depression or anxiety, that's both a brain rewiring experience and also a hormonal downshift from all the estrogen that you just had for 9 months, flooding your brain with estrogen, which is very social and communicative and receptive and serotonin boosting. And then, and I'm like, and then you give birth. And then within that first 3 months postpartum, those hormones, and even sooner, those hormones, the estrogen, progesterone, leave the body, leave the brain chemistry pretty quickly. And, can leave you feeling a little rocked. That's normal, turns out, and to be expected. So expect it and plan for it and prepare for it. So what does that mean? Postpartum or post-miscarriage, because that is also extremely common, you want to treat those, in a miscarriage, you want to give yourself 2 months to 3 months to recover, which is very much like a postpartum period of, the 4th trimester. So you give yourself these 3 months. The best thing I can tell you, the quickest thing I can tell you without just making the whole talk about the postpartum period, is that this is a time, again, not to seek out antidepressants necessarily unless you absolutely are having severe postpartum depression and you need help. That's a whole separate issue. But if you're just feeling the usual, normal to be expected postpartum mood swings, exhaustion, fatigue, emotionality, irritability, kind of like a severe PMS experience, you want to eat to stabilize your blood sugar, to increase your energy, and to boost your serotonin production. And you do that by eating the foods that are like what we're always telling you to eat in the cycle syncing method for the menstrual phase. You want to do that for the entire 4th trimester, or for several weeks to several months after a miscarriage. So that means, after I gave birth to my daughter, I had prepared in advance in the freezer, so I would have it ready immediately, liver pate, right? I had organic chicken liver. It's not my favorite food, but it's medicine. It's food as medicine. It's some of the best food as medicine postpartum, full of vitamin A, full of protein, full of amino acids. It's going to really lift you out of the hormonal cascade that happens. I ate lots of red meat, lots of avocados, lots of fatty fish, lots of proteins and fats. And then, of course, for milk production, I also did a lot of specific grains like buckwheat and oats to boost milk production. But I didn't have anything cold or raw fruits or raw vegetables or a salad. I actually just, because, this is what I do for a living, I tried. I was like, my mom was over. I'm like, all right, Mom, because cold food is terrible in the 4th trimester. I'm like, let me try to take a bite of an apple, because I love apples. I'm like, I'll probably like this, and it's probably going to be fine. I took a bite, and I was like, my whole body went like, oh, did not want it. So, go slow with the raw foods. I would say after 3 months, you could try some, breast milk enhancing vegetable juices like fennel, but I would still wait a little bit, depending on how you're doing, even up to 6 months. Until you get your period back, I would consider yourself still in the recovery phase, and I would focus on nutrient-dense foods to replenish, again, not just the fact that you 3D printed a tiny human being, which was very micronutrient depleting, but then you gave birth to said child, right? Either vaginally or via C-section. And those are very micronutrient depleting experiences as well. So you need to recover and not try to get back to where you once were before. I'm going crazy with the quotation fingers because that drives me crazy when I hear this talk about in magazines about celebrities. I mean, I don't see it much now, but maybe like 10 years ago, this was a very popular thing of celebrities having babies, and then they would hire a trainer and a chef and be like eating salads and smoothies like 3 weeks postpartum. And I'm like, what is going on? This is terrible. This is not only going to make you more hormonally imbalanced in the short term, but in traditional Chinese medicine, they actually take very seriously what you do postpartum, from the foods that you're eating. Even you're not even allowed to get out of bed until your temperature in each armpit is the same, because that will be different for several weeks postpartum. You have to relax. You have to like rest, bed rest. You can't get up to cook. You have to like chill out, because if you don't take care of yourself properly postpartum, they know that during menopause, you will be more susceptible to disease like osteoporosis, heart disease, cancer, dementia, if you don't take care of yourself properly postpartum. So this is a great opportunity to reframe how to take care of ourselves. Is, I want you to walk away. Thank you, Ann Marcy. That's exactly how you spell mattress sense. I want us to walk away from this whole Facebook Live conversation today with shifting how we think about each phase, right? And so many of us think about the postpartum phase as, okay, self, I got to get back to normal business. There's no time to rest. There's no, I don't need any special treatment. I'm okay. We're going to get on an airplane 3 weeks later and go, I don't know why we try to prove to society that things haven't changed. Well, I do know why, because that's what the patriarchy would dictate, is that you somehow are completely unaffected by your hormones and you should never let them see you sweat, so to speak. It's ridiculous. Men are extremely affected by their hormones, and they've set up their entire universe to cater to their hormonal reality, which is high testosterone production in the morning and the mid-afternoon, and no testosterone in the late afternoon, evening, which means when are they doing work and exercise and meetings, when it's good for their hormones, and when are they home in their man cave when it's good for their hormones. So that it's just, I'm not advocating that we do anything special, so to speak. I'm just advocating that we take care of what our biochemical reality is, and not have the expectation that we should be the same every day. The only reason you have that expectation, this toxic expectation that you should be the same every day, every week, every month, every life stage, is because no one's educating you on your second biological clock. But I am. So that's the problem. And you carry this belief that you should somehow maintain this static experience and static health and through all these life transitions, and you miss the opportunity to take care of yourself the way that you need to support yourself during these transitions. And that's the most important thing I want you to get out of my passionate rant today, is for you to understand that you have it's not in your head, you're not crazy. These are real shifts. They're major shifts. They affect you in every way, more than just your period. It affects every part, every biological system of your body. And you need to be the one in charge of catering to what you need to thrive in those stages. Okay. Whew. Let's get through the next couple of stages. These are also ones I am passionate about your period. I don't know if you're going to meet anybody as passionate about your period as me. but I'm happy that you're here. Okay, so I want to talk to you about perimenopause and postmenopause, because this is a conversation, just like all the conversations, all the life stages, they don't get enough airtime, we don't get enough education, and we also are left vulnerable thinking that we need to be medicated. Perimenopause has 2 stages. It's such a major process to unwind that second biological clock so that you go back to the single circadian clock, that it takes about 20 years to do. Okay, and the reason why that's good is the slower it happens, the less symptomatic you will feel. So what's normal is that there are 2 stages. 35 to 45 is stage 1 perimenopause. So anybody who's over 35, whether you're pregnant or postpartum and you're over 35, you're still perimenopausal. You can be pregnant, postpartum, perimenopausal. It's all happening at the same time. Your body is amazing. So at 35, no matter what, perimenopause. 35 to 45 in stage 1, the expectation is you shouldn't have any real symptoms. You shouldn't be skipping period unless there's a genetic predisposition in your family all through the mother line that, women enter their postmenopausal years very young. Some women, their last period is at 45. It's just very early. All the women in their family have that same early experience. That's a different story. But if you're sort of the average, 35 to 45, you shouldn't experience too many symptoms. Now, what's normal? 35 to 40, again, you're going to just feel like you're still the same adult menstruating self that you've always been. 40 to 45, even though you're still in stage 1 perimenopause, you may notice just a touch of just like moving a little bit in a different direction. If you're imbalanced, right? You might notice a little bit more insomnia, lighter periods, still on time, but just a little lighter, slight decrease in sex drive if you've overexerted yourself in other decades and not taking care of yourself. But in fact, a woman's sex drive should actually increase throughout her lifespan. So that's really it for phase 1. Nothing too extraordinary. Now, that's normal. If you start to have a lot of symptoms, night sweats, hot flashes, skipping periods, right? Now things are accelerating. It means you're aging prematurely from a hormonal point of view. And just last year, the New York Times published an important study. It made the New York Times, so you should be aware of it. Researchers found that adding 2 foods, they only studied 2, and I'm here to tell you that adding more of the foods that we talk about will help you even more. But they studied women who added legumes and fatty fish like salmon to their diet 3 times a week in the stage 1 perimenopausal years, delayed the onset of menopause by 2 years. So what's so magical about this study is that it's telling you directly without a doubt that what you eat will either age you hormonally quickly or it will slow down the hormonal aging process. Because what is aging? From one point of view, aging can be looked at as the diminishing production of hormones, right? So you want to keep them as you want to keep your body nourished enough so that you can manufacture adequate levels of hormones as long as possible. You want to have a nice, slow perimenopause journey through stage 1 and stage 2. If you're seeing signs of premature hormonal aging, Google the Flow blog, signs of premature hormonal aging, and you'll see a whole list of things that you can do. But none of them are taking birth control pills, because that is not going to slow down the premature aging process. It's only going to hasten it, because it's going to deplete your micronutrients, increase vaginal dryness, decrease your libido, increase depression. It is not going to help you. So that's important. And of course, you want to be working with your gynecologist to help navigate any extreme situations, like Marcia's talking about her mom using estrogen patches in her early 40s. That's a whole other complicated ball of wax. On the one hand, regular ovulation, having a period as long as possible protects your bones and your heart and your brain. So having a healthy ovulation every month actually sets you up to be a healthier postmenopausal woman. Another reason not to take synthetic birth control. But taking something like synthetic estrogen as a patch, if there's history of female cancers in the family, you would need to be working with physicians who understand your particular genetics and situation before you just assume that that's the right thing to do for you. Again, some women are genetically hardwired to go into menopause early. It's just all the women in their family have that experience for a couple of generations. Sometimes that's what it is. But in other situations, it really is a factor of diet and lifestyle. And again, because so many of us are having children in our early perimenopause years, going through pregnancy and being in perimenopause means at the same time that you have to be like an Olympic athlete with your nutrition and self-care, because you want to make sure that you don't totally deplete yourself so profoundly from pregnancies, postpartum, child rearing in the early years where it's a lot of sleepless nights, that you end up with really compromised hormonal balance and health issues in the second stage of perimenopause, which is 45 to 55. Now, most women, the average ending of your having your last period is 51, 52. But again, nature is a bell curve, so it can last a little longer. So we call perimenopause stage 2, 45 to 55. Now this stage, this is really going to be more noticeable because that second clock is unwinding, which means instead of going from a circular 28-day cycle, now the body is trying to get it more, it's going to be like an ellipse, right? So you may have a period once every 3 months, once every 4 months, once every 6 months, until you don't have one for a full 12 months. And that's how you know when you've entered postmenopause. In fact, that's the only way to know that you're postmenopausal, is that you can count backwards to your last period being 12 months previously, and then you call that last period menopause. Your first period is called menarche. Your last bleed is called menopause. And then everything else after your menopause bleed is your postmenopausal. And again, we're not even clear on, a lot of people say, oh, I'm in menopause. You're not in menopause. You're postmenopausal, or you're actively having your menopausal bleed, which is your last bleed, which you can't know that you're having until 12 months have passed. So just be aware that the terminology is not making it easy for us to self-reference, but that's a whole other conversation, which we can have another time. So phase 2, perimenopause, listen, when hormones are in balance and you've been taking care of yourself all the ways that I've been encouraging you to all throughout these life stages, you're going to just notice that your period stops happening as frequently. You may have some temperature fluctuations, right? Not hot flashes that are debilitating or night sweats that are debilitating, but you may notice like a little bit of that, and that's okay. Nothing to be concerned about. These things can be addressed so well with herbs. I work with women all the time in these 2 stages that are having these types of symptoms, and supplement and herbs are just amazing for this. B vitamins, of course, if you're taking the flow supplements, all of those micronutrients are incredibly important for every life stage except for pregnancy. It just gives you that foundation. But then there are certain herbs that really help for night sweats. Dr. Northrup has created a fantastic product for dealing with this sort of the perimenopausal, second stage perimenopausal night sweats and hot flashes. It's an herb that she found in Thailand that she's manufactured. I think it's great. I've been recommending it to patients and they've been getting excellent results. So there's a lot of great products that are natural, that give you the results that you need, as opposed to feeling like you may have a conversation with your healthcare provider that would say, oh, you need some synthetic hormone to balance things out. No, you need to help your body go through this process of change. Change is what is constant throughout a woman's hormonal stages, constant change. Your job from puberty to postmenopause is to become the excellent navigator of your ship, your body, and to steer her into a direction where you're supporting all these transitions. And that is your job. So second stage perimenopause, it's all good. Your period's going to stop at some point. It's going to be irregular. You may have some fluctuations, whatever is coming up, from vaginal dryness to decreased libido to hot flashes to mood swings. All of these things, there's well-documented research to show about, certain herbs and adaptogens and supplements that really address all of these perimenopausal symptoms. So I can do a whole perimenopause, journey, another Facebook Live, but I just wanted to take us through the transition on what's normal and why none of us should be duped into thinking that, oh, something's wrong, I need to be medicated. In no situation do any of these transitions require, like, you're not all of a sudden magically deficient in a medication, right? You're deficient in a micronutrient, or you're now having less estrogen, because that's normal when you're 45 to 55. Your body's going to make less estrogen. So how do we support the body, right? You might need more adaptogens in this phase. It isn't about trying to stay the same. That's the toxic thinking, staying the same, always the same, with medication. No, you're going to change, things change. That's what's supposed to happen. How can you feed yourself and nourish yourself to support that process? The last stage, of course, is the postmenopausal stage, 55 and older. And now you're completely done with your second clock. You're back to a single clock like you were before puberty. So now it's, a different conversation of just keeping your circadian rhythms balanced, keeping muscle mass and bone density, doing strength training, having good amino acids in your diet, taking adaptogens, and keeping yourself active and healthy. You won't have a thought postmenopausally that all of a sudden you're deficient in synthetic birth control to bring your period back, nor should you. So, keeping your digestion healthy, keeping your gut healthy, strengthening your immune system, keeping your mobility and flexibility on point is going to dictate the quality of life you have for as long as you have life. So that's really the name of the game. So if you joined the video midway, I went through all the life stages. There are 7. We started with puberty, then which is 9 to 21. Then we did, just looking at my notes, the adult menstrual years, 21 to 35, what's normal, what's not normal, what you should do. Pregnancy, postpartum, the age varies, what you should do, what's normal, da-da-da. Perimenopause phase 1, 35 to 45, perimenopause phase 2, 45 to 55, and postmenopause 55 plus. And what I wanted to do, the whole point of why I wanted to go on this big rant with you today is to really, really make sure and help you understand that at no point should you look at any of the symptoms that you're having and saying to yourself, oh, gee, I don't know what to do. I don't know what my body's doing. It's failing me. I should find some medication to fix this symptom. Acne, cramps, bloating, anxiety, irregular cycles, heavy bleeding. All of those symptoms are signs that your body is crying out for micronutrients, food, and lifestyle changes. And that's just so important that you start practicing what I call this active listening and compassionate response, because it's just so critical that you do that. So of course, I know all of you are like, well, what's the first step? What can I do right now to quickly start supporting, whatever phase that you're in? whatever you might have done inadvertently without realizing it to have compromised your hormonal balance. You may have had exposure to synthetic birth control and now know that your micronutrient levels are depleted. What should you do? And, you know, the question, the place to start, the best place to start is to flood your body with micronutrients to boost the levels of the micronutrients that the endocrine system needs to give itself the ability to balance your hormones, right? So that's the first thing I always start with, and that's why I formulated the Flow Balance supplements. Some of you have seen these before. These are my babies. I wanted the supplements that I would take that didn't have junk in them, that were clean, and that were absolutely what science and research has shown to be non-negotiable for the endocrine system. And this set of 5 formulations, we don't sell them separately because you need all of them, your hormones need all of them, will help give you that. So we have Harmonize, which is the omega-3, D3, K1, K2 magic formulation that's going to help with breast tenderness, cramping, mood, irritability, depression, anxiety. Replenish, the magnesium formulation that is going to help with over 300 catalytic reactions in the body, but so important for hormones. Energize is the B complex that's going to help with progesterone production, delayed periods, any cycle irregularity, and energy issues. Gutsy is the probiotic formulation that is coated enterically, especially it's going to actually get to the small intestine where it needs to be. And then, of course, Detox, which really maybe I should rename to liver food, because it's not detoxifying you in the way that we're taught we should detoxify. It's nourishing your liver with the micronutrients that your liver needs to store in its tissues in order for it to do its phases of detoxification. I don't really like, and it's not appropriate for all women to take things like milk thistle or DIM or these or Cal-D-glucarate, which are hardcore liver detoxifiers. Most of the time what women need is to feed their liver the micronutrients like B vitamins, vitamin C, and other antioxidants and glutathione, so that the liver has what it needs for its own process of detoxification. So it's really liver food. It's not a heavy liver detoxifier, which I don't like, and I don't recommend for every woman. So these, yes, you take them all. Some of you just wrote in, you just started the supplements over a week, noticed a change in your mood and energy almost immediately. People have their skin clear. I mean, this is a universal formulation because the science shows that certain micronutrients are just needed for every endocrine system to do its job, and that's what I put into these formulations. So whichever stage you're at, yes, we ship all over the world. You just need to request international shipping by writing into support at Flow Living, and we'll hook you up with how to do that. So for those of you who are at any stage who are ready to take some action, this would be the place that I would start immediately, because it's just going to put you on the right foot forward. And then you can dive into the Flow Protocol or the Cycle Syncing membership to learn more about how to use food to your advantage to keep your hormones balanced. And for those of you who want to take action in the next 24 hours, if you purchase the Flow supplements, which I'll put a link below, and you email support at Flow Living, you're going to get our Flow Vitality package to help you regardless of which stage you're in. So the first is you're going to get the first bonus you're going to get is the DIY Hormone Fix Bundle. So there are 3 modules in this bundle. One is about period issues. How do you solve pain, heavy bleeding, mood swings at home? The second module is fertility issues, why they happen, how to boost your fertile factors without IVF. Module 3, sex drive issues, why your sex drive is low at any age and what to do about it. The second bonus, it's a really great if you want to do some simple food experiments to see if food is going to make a difference for your symptoms, that's what this DIY hormone bundle is set up to do. And it's really going to help, because I get it. You're told your whole life you're never going to have help. You're told your whole life that you're always going to suffer with your period. So it seems a little hard to believe that you could just change your food and all of a sudden your symptoms are going to go away. I understand that. I think that kind of skepticism is reasonable given our conditioning. So I put these little food experiments together for you so that you could do the experiment yourself and see for yourself what can be possible. And Ainsley is talking about her experience with the supplements, and your period is coming back and you have amenorrhea from PCOS. That is awesome. Ainsley, I would love to follow up with you and get your full story so we can share it with everyone. But this is a great example of, we're told nothing is going to work, but then it does work. And you got to think about, why are you being told it's not going to work? No, it's a whole other conversation. All right. So that's bonus number 1 in the Flow Vitality package. When you buy the supplements today and email your receipt to support at Flow Living. The second bonus is my home medicine cabinet guide. What do I keep on hand for the 12 most common hormone symptoms, UTIs, yeast infections? What do I do when I get a cold? Like, how do I treat myself without medication so that I don't throw off my gut or other things, and really protect and preserve my hormonal balance in every opportunity? Bonus number 3 in the Flow Vitality package with the purchase of the Flow supplements is our Moody, Bitchy, and Blue special report. So if you find that your moods are dramatically swinging from happy to irritable, whether you're in your, yes, Deb, you can see all the ingredients. Let me type out the link so that you can see, flowliving.com. And if you go to the supplements page, the link that says supplements on the top of the navigation, or you can follow this link directly, you'll see every ingredient and concentration of that ingredient listed. There, that should get it. Okay. So this special report about your moods is to really help you if you have mood issues and you're in your PMS phase, in your adult menstruating years, or if you're in your perimenopausal journey and you're noticing that you're having wild mood swings all of a sudden and you didn't have that before. This special report is going to tell you why it's happening, how do you know if it's hormonal related, 3 physical reasons why you may feel depressed, anxious, and angry, and then what foods you can start eating to switch your mood right now. And then there's one more bonus, because I want you to feel better ASAP. That's why I do this. Get your missing periods back special report, whether it's been missing for unknown reasons or if you have synthetic birth control syndrome, meaning you have taken synthetic birth control and your period hasn't come back normally, or because you recently gave birth and you're wondering when your period's going to come back, or if you're in early stage perimenopause, 35 to 45, and you're worried that you're skipping too many periods. This report is for you to read why your period's gone missing, why it's irregular, what you need to do about it, and what are the 4 factors that may be disrupting your cycle and what you can do to fix them. So, I mean, I am going to flood you with support, and all you have to do is decide that you believe that it's possible to have a better hormonal reality, and that you're the one who's in control of that by changing the foods that you're eating and the supplements that you're taking. So if you are ready to do that experiment, like I said, whichever life stage you're in, I would highly recommend that you start with the Flow Balance supplements. You can order them with the link that I just shared. You can read up on all the ingredients on the website. Email your receipt to support@Flow Living, and you will be emailed immediately the Flow Vitality package, which has these incredible 4 bonuses, the DIY Hormone Fix Bundle, which are these food experiments to help you see firsthand that you can transform everything from bowel movements to breast tenderness to acne, or to Ainsley, who was able to get her period back after having PCOS and amenorrhea from her PCOS. Everything is possible in the body. Your body is designed to restore its own homeostasis if you give it the right inputs. Micronutrients are a key part of that, especially if you've been depleted from coffee or synthetic birth control or stress or multiple pregnancies and you haven't cared for yourself properly postpartum. Micronutrients are the first best step. Then food. Food is the next most important step. You're going to get the second bonus, my home medicine cabinet guide, and then the 2 special reports, one on mood and one on missing periods. And, you know, I really, really, really hope that you are as passionate now as I am about what's possible for your period at any stage, whether you're finishing up puberty, whether you're in your adult menstruating years, whether you're postpartum, whether you're perimenopausal, postmenopausal. I want you to be hopeful and excited and confident and certain that if you take some action with your food and your lifestyle, that you can transform your hormonal reality, period. So I hope that you take advantage of this incredible bonus. Again, just purchase the supplements, send your receipt to, I'll type out the email address, support at Flow Living. Oh, wait, I'm terrible at typing and talking. And just put Flow Vitality Bonus in the subject line, and we will email that to you right away. I misspelled Flow Living, but it has a second I in there. And that's it for today. I am so happy that we got to talk about this 7 stages of the normal, beautiful, healthy, to be expected hormonal fluctuations that women go through throughout their lifespan. I hope it's helped to give you some perspective on what's normal. Please share this video with every single woman you know, because it talks about all the stages. And it's just good ovary karma for you to share this information, because I mean, where do we hear it? Where are we getting this education? Well, certainly Flow Living is doing our part to do that, but we really could use your help to share it with more women. So please, all the video links will be posted on the Facebook page. All you have to do is tag a friend and they'll be able to watch it. I will see you next week for another juicy, passionate, educational, and informational conversation about how to live smarter and healthier in your female body. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.